episode 4. Let's get this on the road. I am so pumped. So many things happened in episode 3. A lot of changes in the lineup with the trading, and that is he now in rhythm? So imagine starting off as the last ever scouted, or the last ever scouted individual, and then now scoring as one of the starters for rhythm. You know, the audience must have seen something. But yeah, I love this whole change. I am so excited, so pumped. I hope you are too. And okay, let's go. The only thing missing about rhythm, in all honesty, is I suppose the bench really carrying or helping the starters, because the starters were great. Like, they have the best starters, and then the second best starter would be Groove. The bench really failed miserably. For all the bench teams, how I rated it was Beat as first, Groove second, and then Rhythm third. It was the Groove and Rhythm one, for me at least, from what I can remember, according to my recollection, they kind of were on par with amongst each other. But you know, I give a slight edge to Groove because they were a lot more well put together compared to Rhythm. So Rhythm, they need to get this. You know, they need to up their game. Even the directors need to be very involved in this. I get that they're very supportive and all that stuff, but I think Ichang Sub is a little bit more hands-on compared to Rhythm and Beat. In my opinion, I think Beat may be a little bit not as involved, but I could be wrong. Again, with these shows, we never really know what's happening behind the scenes, or how, because there's so many footage and they only get to show small portions of it because they need to build a narrative, right? So we don't get to see how truly involved they are. But as far as what I've seen and what they've shown, to me, it kind of feels like Ichang Sub is the most hands-on compared to the other two, right? And Chien in the mix. Again, visually, he's amazing. I think he gets the votes. Performance-wise, he's a good dancer. Vocally, again, for some reason, I keep blocking out his abilities when it comes to singing. Like, I can't really register if he's good or okay, or, you know, more on the lacking on that side of things. But again, visually, I mean, he's likable, of course. He's got that charisma going on for him. I mean, I think there's a huge chance he may still debut, but in terms of not letting the team down, I'll put him on the category of there's potential he might bring the team down, but unless he proves me otherwise, okay, I'm just a little underwhelmed with his performance so far, because everyone here, even Daisuke, you can sort of discount the fact that he's young, so there's that for him. Obviously, in all honesty, you want your team to be of superstar level in terms of their abilities to perform and get the votes and everything else, right? That's ideally, that's how you want the Avengers, essentially. But he is also on that level too when it comes to the non-performance side of things. Dancing, he's okay. I'm not sure about vocals, and my only other thing about Chien is he's a bit stiff, right? Like, he's got this very stoic kind of face, and obviously that's his personality. I don't have anything against that, but it's, when you're a performer, he needs to liven it up a little bit, right? So they need to open himself up a little bit more. So we'll see if they get to do that. Just my opinion. If I were Team Rhythm, you want to have some variety in your performances, right? I know they've only had one performance so far, but both their teams had a very dance-focused, very performance-focused performances, right? And that is the DNA of Ten Ten and Yang Yang, right? That's where they come from. Strategically, if you want to win, you need to give a bit of a variety. As much as Lee Chang-sub has more of a poppy, mellow, slightly more upbeat kind of music, he doesn't obviously go for these type. I think he's prepping for something like this because he brought in Hanseo and he brought in Heejun onto his team. So maybe not for this round, but for the next. Like he's preparing for the next few rounds. Like if he needs rappers in, he'll be able to get that kind of energy there infused. Rhythm has the most talent in my opinion. And I feel like they're being underutilized, okay? Because as much as these are very performance driven songs, there's little room to show the vocal capabilities of the trainees on rhythm. Right? Because when you're jumping up and down, the choreo is great. You won't have enough breath, or the breath control is going to be very difficult for the vocalists to actually do their thing. But then again, Groove has I think Groove definitely has the strongest vocals, right? But you wanna be on par with them on that too. This time around, I saw GM giving it a little bit more than what I'm used to. So his dancing is there. His dancing is actually good. The expression, a little bit stiff at times, but I've seen him more animated, which is an absolute plus on my side. I think the bottom line for me really is it didn't really feel like he stuck out like a sore thumb. Like he didn't do anything terribly wrong. If anything, he kind of blended in with the group as a whole. Like even that slide that he did when he showed his abs in there, I didn't expect him to do that. So he's a lot livelier. I must say I'm impressed with his performance this time round. I'm still gonna need a little bit from him to be on par with the rest of the group. My only concern at this point is Hiroto. There's not much exposure on his side, and again, is it a choice by the whole group to give him less lines? Because he had like, I think a couple of lines in all honesty, but there's not much of a highlight, if you know what I mean. Whereas Jubao, while he didn't have a lot of lines, there was impact. You know, he really made it a point that he gets something, and he got his moment. Like I will remember that with him and Steven on that section where they were standing together. Yeah, he got a moment. I like that. Yeah, really memorable. And need I say more about JL and Juwon? They killed it. Is it Zhang Fang? Apologies if I'm misremembering his name, but he does have great skill when it comes to dancing and even vocally as well. I've heard him sing high notes. I think one of the main issues about him is he doesn't have that charisma, you know. Although when he dances there is, it's in this, he's really good, but he's not just one of the more popular ones, if you know what I mean. And it does happen. It does happen. It's just that maybe he lacks the personality. But again, I'm not really sure what's missing there. Something is missing. But the talent is there, and you know, he's got to change something somehow, and I don't want him to leave that early. I know he obviously doesn't have the work ethic. And again, this goes back to my question as to why and how people like him get through to the auditions, because I get with what's the other team beat trainee's name, the child actor. He's an actor, so you know he'd have agencies, and he's got good visuals as well. Um, while he doesn't have a lot of training, he does have charisma. And I think he kind of it's like a self-sabotage thing where he just decided not to participate. And it's a shame because he might have done well in the auditions that we didn't get to see, because thousands and upon thousands of people have auditioned to this. And he got through somehow. So for him to waste this opportunity is a huge letdown. And that's his fault. That's his own fault. So I understand why he's in this position. I'm not sure if this is Royce. Is that Royce? No, that's not Royce. It's the other guy. I think he was in Jail's team. So again, he just lacks the charisma. I mean, he tries. He's not very memorable. I suppose that's why he's there. At the end of the day, it is a popularity contest. If people vote for you, then they vote for you. If not, then that's, you know, that's where you got to try and figure out how you get the votes. Yeah. As much as we love seeing talented people come through, it is still a popularity contest, just like everything else. So they need to do something else, right? Like if your personality, maybe if you feel like visually, because there's always going to be someone more visually attractive than you. That's a fact, right? So you can't just rely on that. You need to be a little bit more. You need to have something else, whether it's your drive, whether it's your passion, whether it's your how you treat other people. There is that likability factor, right? Like some people, you can't really put your finger on them, but why are they well liked, and yeah, I think this is where these guys kind of fall, well, at least for him, where he kind of falls under. But yeah, it's they really need to execute well, and I'm talking about Beat's starting lineup, because they can't have their bench team lose to the starters of Rhythm, and then have their song taken away from them. And this is by Team Groove's bench as well. And to my knowledge, they're actually pretty good because they've got Hanseo in there. And they also got Hunky Jimin. I'm so sorry. You know who I'm talking about. Ungi's ex-bandmate. He is pretty good as well. And a few other talented individuals on that team. So yeah, they really need to kill this, execute flawlessly, and even a little bit more if they can. Like they really need to stand out. At this point, they need to perform better than Rhythm and Groove. Yeah, they really need to win this. They need to be playing as if they also have the yellow card, on them. So yeah, tough. I'm rooting for them. I need to have them get some wins to put things in order, because right now, the tipping scale looks like Groove is getting all the wins, while Team Rhythm is in the middle. They're kind of like a sleeping drag. Groove has been doing fantastically well, and like I said, I think Sub masterfully is managing his talents a little bit better than Rhythms at the moment. And even the song choice, for me, that looks better. That sounds like what they have is more or less like a misunderstanding of where they're both at. Maybe there is some, what's his name, Kyung-hyu? Maybe there is some, I don't want to, it's probably, it's not animosity, but just disappointment on his part over Cheongi, for leaving the group. But then Cheongi left because he already saw where everything's going to go anyway, that the group's not going to survive and it's not going to do well. The songs aren't selling or whatever, he already saw before everything fell apart, so he left. And because they never had a chance to talk about it, they're kind of in this awkward phase of, are we good? Are we not good? And then their first interaction was, not not acknowledging each other. So that's where they go, okay, I think there's something wrong here. But yeah, I suppose it's one of those where nobody was talking and nobody knows where they're at. Nobody knows where one feels over the other. So it's kind of up in the air, and then you kind of just read between the lines, and this is where reading between the lines tend to be misinterpreted. And obviously it seems like they have a beef, and at the same time they might not have a beef. It's just not clear. Both of them don't really know what's happening. That's just my guess. Obviously you've seen the next few episodes and probably know what's happened, but that's just my guess. Come on. Should have made the choreography easier for them to be able to focus on the vocals, like instead of still dancing, like make the choreo less demanding so that they can focus on the vocals, so they don't run out of breath all the time. I think Yogim is probably the least involved in his trainees. Like he expects them to be like, should be practicing, and practicing isn't always the answer. While it is not going to betray you if you're practicing the wrong thing, right? Something that doesn't actually make your performance better, then it defeats the purpose, because the result will be what you practice this whole time. So if you've made the changes early on and practice that to have a better result in the end, that's the route that you should have taken. You can't just expect these guys to have, and anyway, that comment from Yogim kind of just, I suppose I had reservations when it comes to his ability as a director, because it doesn't feel like he's very hands-on, compared to the other two directors, both Lee Chung-sub and Ten and Yang Yang. You tell the kids that as idols they need to be able to have good breath control, and this is a thing that idols go through. Well, instead of telling them, why don't you show them how to avoid this, or how to combat this, or how to better themselves? Techniques, you know what I mean? Like Lee Chung-sub, when one of his his members were struggling to reach the high note, he goes, scrunch your abs or your stomach, I don't know, something like that. Okay, or crouch a little bit. I don't know. He gave them tips on how to improve, and that's why I really like Lee Chung-sub as a director. And even Ten and Yang Yang, they give critical feedback, but at the same time, they help out on ways to improve them. Like, okay, instead of doing this, can you just do that? You know what I mean? Like there's advice, like there's helpful tips and advice that betters the team. I am now not surprised as to why the team is where they are. It feels like Yogim just abandoned them. He just comes in and watch and goes, you guys suck. You know what I mean? It just, maybe since he started losing and lost out on JL and I forgot the other one, but like he didn't get the picks that he wanted. He already gave up at the beginning of the show when he scouted his members, right? That shouldn't be the mentality, right? You need to still believe in these boys because this is their only shot, So I'm a little bit disappointed in Yogim's. Okay. My assessment. My assessment on this is it is a very solid performance, but I wouldn't rank it above Rhythm, right? Like I think this is one of the best performances they've had. And I'm really impressed. It's just that it is a little unstable. They are not the strongest vocal team, but in terms of execution, their performance is probably one of the better ones that they've done. And I don't know how Team Groove is going to do really, because they have two good leaders in there. Team Groove's leader, and then Team Beats X leader in there. And if they're working in tandem, yeah, they're up for a challenge there. And they've got Zen Zen as well, who's a good vocalist. If he can cover that part, I'm not sure about Hanseo's vocal abilities. He's okay, but is not as strong. But then again, if you compare their vocal skills to a Team Groove's vocal skills to the starters of Team Beat, they're either on par or I might give the slight edge on vocals to the bench team of Groove. So, wow. Oh my god. That is pretty intense. I think the drama at the very end of that is something to look forward to in the next episode. I am now so curious as to what's happened between the two. It's gotta be something, you know. I feel like, because they hugged out in the end. I mean, I feel like they shouldn't have shown that part, in all honesty, and just left it on. Can you say that on TV? But because they kind of spoiled it, it's like, no, they're fine. They're gonna hug it out or something. Seems like it's a positive ending, but it must be some type of misunderstanding. But this is a pretty intense episode, in all honesty. And as for Ungi's team, yeah, performed to the dance execution is performed to perfection. The only thing they needed to work on is the breath control, which they didn't get any tips from anybody, or there's no adjustments made during their practice to mitigate that issue. So they are gonna have breathy, unstable performances. And I don't take that against the boys, but I feel like Yogyam should have jumped in and said, we can make changes, tweak things so you can have time to breathe and whatnot. You can do that, you know. You're more than welcome to change the choreography to enable your team, to put your team in the best possible path of winning. But he didn't do that. And he's the expert. He's the mentor. He's the one who should be telling these kids how to win. But they're kind of left to their own devices. Wongi and obviously the rest of the members, they're left to their own devices to kind of find ways to get over this. But obviously they didn't change too much of that. Whereas with Rhythm, you know, there's a lot of collaboration happening. They had fun while they're on stage. It's different. Obviously with Groove, you have a really amazing mentor. And by the way, Ten and Yang were there to support the boys as well, which is great. And with Ichang Sub, he's very hands-on, and I love that about him. He gives tips and techniques, ways to win, chooses things very strategically, and he handles his team the best. So that's why they're winning. And yeah, I am so excited to jump onto the next one. So please feel free to consider subscribing both on my YouTube and my Patreon as well. And for my patrons, thank you so much for subbing and supporting my channel. And please feel free to let me know if there's anything specific you'd like me to check out. And yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.